Mario Kart Wii. I mean, MKW just came out, might as well check out MKW. A very prolific title in the Mario Kart series, and my second favorite behind 8 Deluxe. As of right now. Yeah, the item play can be a bit too hectic, but that's part of the magic of Mario Kart Wii. It loves to screw you over in so many ways. Despite its lesser visuals, this entry's still got a really solid track list, both new and retro, an underrated battle mode in my opinion, and the best roster in the series for about 15 years before 8 Deluxe resurrected Funky Kong. The thing is, a lot of Wii's good aspects have been surpassed by future Mario Karts. Hell, 8 Deluxe has 11 Wii tracks. Thus, many have moved on from Wii once the next entries come out. But if you want more from your Mario Kart Wii fix, your best bet is entering this game's slowly growing modding community. Yep. Any video game ever released has mods and hacks made by dedicated fans, and Mario Kart Wii is definitely no exception. There are a bunch of different mods for this game, such as texture and music packs, custom karts, custom characters, new modes like hide and seek and mission mode, and most popular of all, the custom tracks. There are thousands upon thousands of custom tracks made by the modding community ever since a year after the game's release, and over 15 years later the fans are still eating it all up. I myself was late to the modding scene. 2021 was my introduction to Mario Kart Wii modding, and obviously it was through CTGP Revolution. I still admire this mod for being an easy gateway into custom tracks and the potential they have to expand the horizons of Mario Kart Wii, but I have definitely grown out of it and I'm more into other track distributions like Mario Kart Wii Deluxe, Mario Kart Midnight, and my personal favorite, Insane Kart Wii. Look at how many tracks there are in this mod. It's literally endless. This mod has been a favorite for me and my brothers every time I game with them. Our setup is always an 8 race run with random items on, hard CPUs, 150cc, and random tracks, seeing what random junk the game will throw at us next. The first track could be a very well made remake of a beloved track with many small details around every corner. And then the next could be in the shape of Sephiroth and your speed is cranked to the max for no reason. Anything can happen. That's this mod's charm. You can play this for the rest of your life if you could. While it is always fun for me and my bros, I do think it's also fun to see how well constructed these tracks are myself, and see how they stack up against Nintendo's official tracks. And with that curiosity, I want to share my findings on YouTube in a special way. Welcome to the first episode of a potential series on my channel, where I take a look at every Mario Kart Wii custom track from a specific creator and rank them from worst to best Shafrillis style. I see a lot of regular Mario Kart course rankings on YouTube, but there aren't many custom course rankings out there, and so I'm here to start digging this potential goldmine. The sky's the limit in regards to custom tracks. Our first episode of the MKW CTR project will be focusing on one of the earliest creators in the community, MKDasher. MKDasher is one of the most professional Mario Kart players in the world. Not only holding records and doing task runs in Wii, but he's much more prominent in the Mario Kart DS community, holding several world records for damn near every track in the game and still breaking records to this day. What he does is really impressive, and some of his current records are worth watching because the tech he pulls off is insane. We're focusing on his Wii side today, and not only is he a pro at Wii, but he also made custom tracks. In his short time modding MKW, he has made 11 remakes of classic Mario Kart tracks. In some cases, the first Wii remake of a specific track. Back then, it didn't matter if the remake was of the highest quality possible. They were just very convenient if you wanted to play your favorite track in a Mario Kart game that didn't have it. Today I'm going to look at each and every one of MKDasher's remakes and see which ones still hold up many years later, because seeing a pro world record holder's custom mods is always at least a little interesting. I'm going to be ranking these based on how good of a remake the track is, as well as how fun it is to play on. We're starting with a doozy, unfortunately, with an F-tier remake, and one that rightfully deserves the bottom spot on this little list. Let's go. Wow. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but in 2010, MKDasher somehow made Sky Garden absolutely terrible. Well, it's not entirely his fault. This is a collab with another creator named You Got Hacked. Honestly, I'd rather get hacked than play this again. To be fair, this is one of the first custom tracks ever made, and as a result, there were barely as many tools available for custom track creation as we have now. I get why this track is the way it is. Really though, this track did its job as a test to show off the concept of custom tracks, and people will expand on it with future remakes or more elaborate custom tracks altogether. Back then, this was revolutionary. Nowadays, oh my god. Let me run down a list of all the problems I have with this track. 1. It's scaled too big. 2. The floor is hard to decipher. 3. Because of the last issue, it's very easy to go off-road, go the wrong way, or fall off. 4. The textures look like ass. And 5. It's one of the flattest tracks I've ever seen. It's like you're driving on paper floating in the void. Apparently I played a slightly fixed version. There is a separate Insane Kart Wii exclusive version of this remake that fixes some collision issues and nothing else. And while I do think it's nice to preserve all these tracks without changing too much, it's hard to appreciate it when I'm playing an early mess like this. A common theme for many of his remakes is that they have been quickly made obsolete, and there are much better remakes of Sky Garden to play instead of this. It's very easy to excuse back then, this is one of the earliest custom tracks ever made for this game after all, but playing this today is rough, and one I never want to play again unless if it's thrown at me in a random items run. I'd much rather play 8 Deluxe's version of Sky Garden over this. It's inaccurate, but at least it's a more competently made track. We're not out of the shit yet, unfortunately, as we're heading into the D tiers next. Yay!
You're not in this episode.
To the people who aren't super fans, Dokkan Course is an unused Mario Kart DS course, only playable in the game's kiosk demo through hacking. The track was made to test collision, consisting of a floating cage that leads to a pipe, hence the name, as the word Dokkan means pipe in Japanese. This track, alongside many other unused or prototype tracks, have been remade in Wii over the years, which is always at least kinda neat. And MKDasher has made one of his own. This is a bit of a monumental track in CT history, as this is the first that has its model ported from a different game. MKDasher chose this for its simplicity, and judging by his history with DS, this makes all the sense in the world. Only caveat is this track kinda sucks. There are some problems with the actual remake. Most of the middle section has just this cage floor rather than having it revolving all around you. Ironically, the collision is off. I fell through the pipe at one point and it threw me the fuck off. The CPU's AI are broken on this track too, with many of the opponents repeatedly turning and falling off the track halfway through. There's also a speed modifier added to the track, and adding this to a custom track is usually kinda lame, especially if it's used on a track that doesn't need it like this one. The track itself is also nothing special, and mostly has a novelty of being unused going for it. And as most unused tracks go, this is pretty boring. Obviously this track wasn't meant to be seen, it was made just for testing, but at least it's better than some other certain remakes. Looking at you, Sky Garden, you piece of shit.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
Speaking of less than stellar GBA remakes, here's another collab from 2009, this time with one of the creators of CTGP, Mr. Bean 35000 VR with GBA Rainbow Road. When it comes to the original track, I think it's alright. Despite its average flat layout, it's one of the more unique Rainbow Road tracks in the series, featuring Bowser's flying castle from Paper Mario in the background, and allowing you to pull off some insane shortcuts with the boosts and bouncy floors. Here, it's GBA Rainbow Road in layout only. The textures are clearly taken from the base game's Rainbow Road, with the flying castle being replaced by the moon from Moonview Highway for some reason. And it's also entirely paper flat, just like Sky Garden. What they did add is the bouncy floor on the edges of the road, and while I do appreciate the extra effort, it's pretty janky in execution. Because of Wii's physics, you barely go much farther when jumping off them, and you can very easily fall off if you're not careful. Once again, I can see why this is a lesser remake in comparison to the other GBA Rainbow Road remakes out there. It was made in the community's early years, and as a test to bring over a previous Rainbow Road. Lazy simplicity has always been Mr. Bean's style when it comes to his own tracks, so it's not entirely MKDasher's fault. And I bet custom textures weren't exactly a huge thing yet, so they had to improvise. I can excuse this track for a lot of things outside of playing it today. Cool from a historical standpoint, it just comes off as slow effort when looking at it today. At least it's not Mayro's old GBA Rainbow Road remake, that is just foul. Now we're moving on to the C tiers, time for some mid remakes, baby!
The one that's
what started the whole thing!
SNES Mario Circuit 1, the very first track in the entire Mario Kart series. MKDasher, being the biggest DS fan, decided to bring that game's SNES Mario Circuit over to Wii. And just like the track itself, it sure does exist. Once again, it's another remake that's not perfect. The colorful background blocks, which are already in the game's files, have been redone and they look kinda ugly. And obviously the biggest issue of this remake is the larger scale than the original track. It's a little too big, and while at first it compensates for the smaller lap count than the original Super Mario Kart version, in reality it results in longer times where you're just driving in a straight line. At least the items are still here, but this is Mario Kart. Any track has items except for the low effort ones. Mario Circuit 1 is a track I appreciate much more than I actually like. It's very admirable for being the first track ever made, but it's pretty much just a wonky circle at the end of the day. This remake is not awful, but it's such a bore.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of
Yoshi!
MKDasher's lineup overall is pretty solid when it comes to variety. Each game before Wii is represented at least once. Super Mario Kart and Super Circuit have 2 each, and Double Dash and DS each have 3. But the odd one out of the entire lineup is his one and only Mario Kart 64 remake, N64 Yoshi Valley. And I do admit, this is the first remake on this list that looks the most like the original track. This is only one of 2 remakes of the original Yoshi Valley rather than Mario Kart 8, so it's a bit of a special snowflake. Then again, it's still the original iteration of Yoshi Valley, and just like the track it's adapting, it's kinda boring. This sounds more like a me problem, but while the footage I have looks completely fine with the CPUs going any which way they please, this track's kinda broken in Insane Kart Wii. On my end, every CPU goes down the exact same path, and going any other direction is a huge detriment on trying to win the race. Also, no matter which path you go on, the HUD starts having a fit. In the original, your placement is always a mystery. Even the squares showing 1st to 4th place are shown as question marks. Here, well shit, modders couldn't figure out how to remove that yet. Enjoy the number on the bottom left having very quick transformations, as well as the sky for some reason. Being an early remake, they had to use in-game assets in creative or non-creative ways. This early infection once again seeps into this remake with replacing the rolling egg with a rolling chain chomp. I love the stance he makes at the itch of flyover, and he's generally a good replacement before they figured out how to make a giant rolling egg. Not enough to save the boringness, unfortunately. It's yet again scaled a bit too big and leads to it driving in straight lines for long periods of time with nothing going on. Not a bad remake, probably could have been better if it shrunk a little bit. Now we're moving on to the B tiers, where shit gets kinda good. Starting with
SpongeBob, how long you gonna stay in your little fantasy world?
Daisy Cruiser has always been one of my favorite tracks from Double Dash, and while it didn't get remade in Wii, this would honestly suffice perfectly. At least before 2013. I will give it this, it's still at least a bit fun to play, and it's still the same Daisy Cruiser layout we all know and love, just slightly unfinished. I have a lot of little problems with this unofficial remake that bring it all down for me. While I do like the addition of the little boat over the pool, this was made before Mario Kart 7 released and brought this track back with underwater driving, so here you just drown in it.
Drown in it!
Afterwards, you go down the stairs, and the spacing between each step is just a bit too long. I end up bouncing on them a bit too much, flying to a different spot entirely, and easily hitting the side of the railing, which kills my speed. After that, you're in the dining area, where, seeing as this was before custom movable objects were easier in custom track creation, the tables are completely still, unfortunately. Right after that, there's the hold that leads to the bottom deck, and this feels a bit too tall to jump down, which kinda screws you over, and the landing slows you down as well. Those are all the problems I have with the remake. They give the track itself a bit less personality. That being said, it is still Daisy Cruiser, and it's not a bad time. There are obviously much better Wii remakes of Daisy Cruiser out there, but this is perfectly suitable for being the first remake of the track on Wii. So props to MKDasher for making a solid enough GameCube remake, and in 2010 no less. A worthy achievement for sure.
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war.
Airship Fortress, in contrast to Daisy Cruiser, definitely looks more primitive, but in turn isn't made more annoying, so that's good at least. This is yet another collab, this time with Mennonite 2550, and more notably, this is the very first custom DS remake in the Wii engine. For the first of its kind, it's surprising surprisingly pretty good. I mean, yeah, it looks like someone's first attempt at recreating Airship Fortress in Blender, but I still enjoy this remake. First things first, some assets were taken directly from base game Bowser's Castle, most notably the beginning, replacing the bonsai bills with Bowser's giant fireball. CT creators were eventually able to add bonsai bills into future remakes, but here, it's a worthy replacement. In fact, it unintentionally adds more danger to the start of the track. There are also these lava geysers replacing the fire shooters, but they're not as good here in this case since they're just off to the side, and they're only a nuisance if someone knocks you into the geyser. The simplicity of the textures and sky restrict this track, keeping it from being more than just an ultra simplistic remake. It looks closer to DMake territory even. It makes the slightly long stretches of nothing even more noticeable, and you notice how unfinished it looks while driving. Even with all that said, it's still Airship Fortress, one of DS's greatest tracks. And it's obviously still a good track in its own right. Before Mario Kart World, this track never made it into a console Mario Kart game, but at least we had mods to fix that issue, and even though it's permanent by today's standards, I will very gladly accept it. I wrote this script before playing the Mario Kart World version of Airship Fortress, and holy shit, it is night and day. Why did I even say that? Fuck it, I'm ranking this below Daisy Cruiser now. I'm not even changing the editing timeline. Let's just move on.
Waluigi?
It's a really great pinball. Is that a good title? They have to be like puns or whatever?
Okay, I might be ranking this remake too high, but I don't give a shit. I like this Waluigi Pinball remake. MKDasher was given countless requests to remake this track, given its fan favorite status, even when a different version already exists, and he delivered. It's not perfect, it's in B tier instead of the track's usual S tier spot for a reason, but Waluigi Pinball is still Waluigi Pinball. It's still a jam. It's just slightly expired jam here. One reason why it's ranked this high is because he kept the pinballs. Yeah, they're just reskinned chain chomps, but with other early Waluigi Pinball remakes removing the pinballs altogether, this was still an impressive feat at the time. The track layout is also 1-to-1, no compromises were made outside of 150cc making it too easy to run into walls or pinballs. What really holds this remake back is the visuals. Textures taken straight from DS look pretty low quality, and other textures look either broken or missing. The bottom section especially looks unfinished. The floor is depression gray and the flippers are like ghosts. They still move, but you just phase through them. It's definitely primitive today in both presentation and function to a lesser extent, but again, it's Waluigi Pinball. Even if it's remade in Super Mario Kart, this track will still be as miraculous as the Second Coming of Christ. Waluigi Pinball is love, Waluigi Pinball is life. Would so much rather play a better remake though, sorry MKDasher.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Okay, I actually feel like I'm ranking this too high. Now I definitely sound insane. SNES Bowser Castle 2, known by many as the absolute worst track in all of Mario Kart, has a pretty damn solid custom remake in Wii. His placement might be unfair, seeing as the version I place is a heavily updated version by other creators like ZPL and Jasper, but MKDasher designed the base, so it counts, shut up. At its core, it's still a flat Bowser Castle track, but what hits about this version is the atmosphere. Most of these SNES/GBA Bowser Castle remakes go for the same aesthetic of gray, red, or sometimes even blue. But here, it's the perfect mix of black for the road and dark red for the lava. And even the starting line is entirely made of fire. It's interesting to go for a gritty take on a Bowser Castle track. It's on par with the 3D Bowser's Castle tracks in terms of presentation. It gets better from here, as there are multiple ramps over lava that are fun to trick off of. The Bowser statue from base Bowser's Castle returns with this giant fireball, making for a frantic yet strategic climax before the next lap. And even the original dumbass dead end is made useful by having it act as a mushroom shortcut with a ramp to trick off of. Seriously, what was even the purpose of that thing in the original track? It's so stupid, oh my god. This is a pretty cool remake, but it's not perfect. Occasionally there are a few long, unnecessary stretches of nothing happening. That middle section is still a bit of a nuisance as there are multiple turns you have to make in a short amount of time depending on the path you take. And again, we've seen the potential for SNES Bowser Castle remakes ever since this one, officially and unofficially. And a flat track isn't quite gonna cut it now. Still, I'm impressed. Props to anyone who created and even updated this track. You managed to make the Mario Kart course worse than Satan into a track that's as gnarly as Satan. Good stuff.
I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me.
And to close this ranking out, we have two Double Dash remakes, each showing off the highest potential for custom retro tracks at the time. Starting with GameCube Rainbow Road. This is another straight model port, and for the most part, it's a very smooth ride. There are a few moments where the road gets a bit bumpy, and the very sharp turn at the end can be a bit annoying if you're not a Funky Kong Flame Rider player like this guy right here. And the graphics in general aren't quite up to Wii standards, but everything else was a pretty flawless conversion. He even replaced the big jump in the second half with a launch star cannon from Base Ramp Road, which makes all the sense in the world. Now, I was about to quickly end this segment here, but then I found out that this track has been subject to several glitchy shortcuts. I don't have a lot of footage, but the wiki has stated it to be a huge problem for this remake, but thankfully in later versions, most if not all shortcuts were patched out. This remake had ultra shortcuts. I guess this track was destined to be a Wii track after all. I don't know, I got nothing else, but still solid enough remake. At last, we have MKDasher's Best Remake, the sole A tier of this list, and one that should still be appreciated today. The number one MKDasher remake is... GameCube Wario Coliseum. I know this footage is from ZPL's improvement over MKDasher's original, but even if I was only going off of MKDasher's original versions, this would still be number one, so shut up. Unlike some other YouTubers out there, I love the shit out of Wario Coliseum. It has the same concept as Waluigi Stadium, but with a much larger scope, allowing for it to be as exciting as a BMX or monster truck show. Yeah, in a game without a trick system, it isn't being brought to its fullest potential, and that along with its unnecessary difficulty in Grand Prix only makes this an A-tier track at most in my eyes. But if this was given another chance in a future remake, then it could finally be seen as an all-timer, and fan remakes give us a glimpse at what could have been. This is only one of 3 iterations on Wii, and for being the first remake of this track, it's damn near flawless. Keep in mind, this was made because MKDasher was having trouble with the DS Shroom Ridge remake, and it never saw the light of day. This was a goddamn Plan B track, and this was honestly given almost as much effort as if Nintendo themselves decided to bring this back to Wii instead of Waluigi Stadium. Incredible. Outside of the lack of a fire bar over a big jump, this track made a pretty seamless transition to Wii. You could trick off every ramp, the roundabout feels pretty smooth for the most part, and not a single part of the road is bumpy or rough. Even the track is 2 laps long. Most early remakes of tracks with different lap counts keep it at 3. While this stays faithful to the original. Overall, a mostly solid transition from original to remake, keeping the high energy, wild tricks, and right length without making it too long, while also making it more fun with Wii's physics engine. Other remakes exist and are slightly better, but this is still a blast and well worth the number 1 spot. And that's the ranking. MKDasher is definitely a short-lived Mario Kart Wii CT creator. For being the first to port models for custom tracks, remake a few fan-favorite tracks, as well as do a DS track remake in general, those are very admirable feats. Props to you for doing all this from 2009 to 2011, and I wish you the best of luck grabbing more and more world records in DS. I can tell the potential shortcuts in this game are going to look fantastic. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this little pilot episode. Probably going to do more of these in the future. The possibilities are endless when it comes to this game, and I'm hoping all of you are looking forward to it. Good night, Tri-State. Oh wait, that's Schaefer Ellis's ending line. Well, that's my mama!